Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective. We are discussing core concepts, and I am your friend and guide on this amazing journey, Siddhi Prad Bhattacharya. We've been discussing segmentation, targeting, and positioning these past few modules, and going further, we will get into the more in-depth parts of that particular journey. But a moment needs to be taken prior. We need to hold and understand factors that affect the entire decision making process. We need to understand what makes the mind tick of the consumer and how they react to certain stimuli which come their way when they are planning to take or not take a particular decision. In that particular context, you'll find that one of the greatest minds in academia when it comes to management, David Suzuki, has said that our personal consumer choices have ecological, social, and spiritual consequences. It is time to re-examine some of the deeply held notions that underlie our lifestyles. When we look at the entire consumer decision making process, the first part is to understand what needs does the consumer have. Once those needs get identified, then the consumer typically, in order to solve those particular needs, goes around and searches for information which can fulfill those particular needs. Once those information pieces are on the table, then there is an evaluation. Which is the best one? What fits best? Where do I need to make the maximum trade-off, and hence I should shun that particular alternative? Things are put on the table, they are considered, and that's when a decision is taken. So these 4 steps are part of the awareness, interest, desire, and action stages. And then there is post-purchase behavior. Post-purchase behavior typically lends you to either loyalty, which is the intended or at least the well-intentioned desired result, or at times it leads people to go astray. They actually admonish the brand that they have invested in. So loyalty versus admonishment is what the post-purchase behavior looks like. You may have times where people actually showcase remorse, having purchased something, and they feel that the money they've spent, the time they have spent, the energy they have spent, the emotion they have put in, all of those things have not been fully justified. So that typically is something which we tend to see in the post-purchase behavior, which should become a feedback loop for marketers to study and understand how to improve their products, how to improve their offerings, and how to make it more relevant for the end consumers. With that in mind, whatever we do, whatever information is dished out at consumers, it exerts influence. And hence, influence is what we are always feeling in our native environment. And that is the space where marketers must do their magic. Our worldview and our scenarios, they provide continuous stimuli that shape our life's decisions ongoing basis every single moment. And that is precisely why brands which are able to cast that kind of influence in the longer term, brands which are able to shift the consumer's decision making towards their own favor, are able to hold that particular sway in consumers' lives. And that is typically where marketing and good marketing actually stems from. So with that in mind, we come to our particular topic of the day. This will be in 2 parts. Today we cover the first part, which is a special focus on culture and influence, which are key factors in consumer decision making. So the first part is presented today. Here we see the role or influence of consumers' decision making from all the external stimuli that come their way. So, consumer purchase decision journeys have evolved from straightforward linear processes to a complex multi touchpoint ecosystem. What this means is earlier on, the need for a decision was immediate, the amount of information available or the possibility of availability of such information was very limited. Whatever was there, it was in black and white. People took that up and instantly came to a decision because it generally followed a certain kind of learned logic or rehearsed emotion. Whichever the case would have been, people were very, very spontaneous with their decision making. Nowadays, we are flooded with information. There are lots of touch points from which we collect data continuously, and we are exposed to a barrage of more and more information pieces across an increasing plethora of information sources. So, hence, our mind is constantly grappling, trying to understand what is it that they should keep, what is it that they should discard. And that is why fake news and a variety of other things that disturb the general flow of information have become something which people want to guard against. Also, the nature of marketing communication messages have become more and more intrusive. They disrupt your general flow of information, they disrupt the way you're consuming data and information, and that is typically why people have now sort of developed a blind spot towards communication as well. When you're watching an ad on TV, you tend to skip the channel. When you're watching an ad on a digital media platform like Facebook, you generally swipe up, especially if it's on your phone. And even if there is a forced ad in front of you, for example, if you're watching a YouTube video and prior to that an ad tends to pop up which stops you from watching the video until the ad has played out, you mentally switch off. And that has led to lower attention spans with people and the inability of marketers to get the message in front of them. All of this is evolving as technology evolves and also the way people interact with all that technology. So, therefore, it's a cultural shift, it's a habitual shift, it's a paradigm shift. With all the digitalization, social media and shifting cultural and environmental priorities, today's consumers are definitely, like we spoke of, more informed. Yes, they are also very, very skeptical. They don't readily believe and they are influenced by a diverse range of factors. Traditional advertising, as was there in the 80s and 90s, and celebrity endorsements are no longer the sole drivers of purchase decisions. You just don't want to see a pretty face pushing a particular product in your life. Nowadays, you need to know from various sources as to how that particular product or how that particular brand makes a difference to your lifestyle. Hence, omni-channel marketing, hyper-personalized digital experiences and people who you relate with. So, therefore, micro and nano influencers. These are people who you feel are near about you. They are from your community and they are people who you've started to follow of your own volition, and hence they play a crucial role in the shaping of whatever marketing decisions you take, whatever choices that are there in front of you. The culture of the people and the environment that they live in, they impact these preferences. Nowadays, because sustainability is a big thing, with sustainability, ethics and community driven engagement, they have all become critical factors for the purchase decision to happen. Omni-channel strategies ensure seamless transitions between online and offline shopping experiences because they follow the particular decision maker. Wherever they are, in whatever circumstance they are, they give conducive messages prodding them to an eventual purchase. And this is while influencer marketing has moved from mega celebrities to relatable niche content creators. These trends are key in designing effective marketing strategies that resonate with modern consumers, and over time they foster brand loyalty in a rapidly shifting landscape. The landscape keeps shifting. For example, at times even the influencers, they face a lot of flack because at the end of the day, being human, they make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, their entire followership and the platforms on which they are, those can take a hit. And their sudden meteoric rise as an influencer may also see an instant fall from grace. So this particular graph is also something which is very, very immediate and very relevant in today's day and age. And instantly, once they lose favor, brands walk out and people stop listening to them. Whosoever has bought listening to their advice may now have second thoughts about what they bought into. So all of these factors, they form part of the volatility, uncertainty, the complexity and the ambiguity, the VUCA experience of what marketing is all about today. And therefore, we explore these dynamic shifts and the impact on consumer behavior in these presentations. What we are going to cover today are consumer purchase decision journeys, multi-platform shopping trends and the impact from influencers in our conversation. So, the traditional purchase journey versus today's journey has shifted. Why has this shifted? Because the old model wanted to get people aware, then get them to consider and finally get them to purchase, and would actually look at post-purchase behavior as a feedback mechanism like we've spoken of. However, this is not typically a robotic linear fashion in which human beings operate. Human beings are complex social mechanisms working within an animate universe where their feelings, where their emotions are biologically, emotionally, logically and in that particular environment with others, they are related, and so they mesh around. They are things which suddenly may take sudden turns, and therefore decision making has become that much more complex. Influencing factors have also increased. So hence, this has become very, very non-linear, multi-touch and influencer driven in today's day and age. That is the evolution. In fact, even if you look at the kind of marketing terminology, when David Ogilvy came back from World War II and he set up his own advertising firm, they would have very, very highly martial, militaristic communication and language and jargon. So you would set up a target audience and you would put out a campaign at them and you would segment and you would target and you would position. All of these terms, when you listen to them, they are all very militaristic. They are very campaign-like. They are very male to begin with, and they are very attacking in their nature. And that is typically how the positioning of marketer versus the audience, the consumers, was looked at by marketers in that particular day and age. Nowadays, it is about collaborations. It is about influence. It is about soft power. It is about the feminine part of the entire marketing thinking that has come about. And that actually helps people create communities. So the role of the marketer has also moved, and the energy of marketing thinking has also shifted from being a male martial thinking to a female nurturing kind of scenario. And therefore, the role of digital platforms has helped in changing the discovery and evaluation of whatever is there to purchase and choose from. And this shift has happened from passive to active engagement. And that is the role in which consumers find themselves today. So the multi-path decision journey actually exhibits that consumers now explore multiple paths before purchasing. They want to see the experience, they want to try things out, and which is why newer models of marketing and newer models of business also have evolved. And there are various touch points now that exist, and therefore people want to engage at all these, and if not all, then at least a majority of these before they actually end up buying. So there are digital ads, there is social media, influencers have their word, there are peer reviews, and then the environment plays. So hence you've got sustainability claims, affordability definitely, because you need to be able to spend out of your pocket. And all of these things together create hyper personalized marketing that affects the choices. So a myriad amount of factors actually plays subconsciously in the back of the mind of the consumer. And the consumer finally at one particular point tips into the balance of either taking the purchase decision or shying away from it. Having said that, the feedback loop that we've spoken of before keeps the consumer inside the brand loop, and even if there is a break in the brand loop today, the cycle continues and you again nurture that particular prospect to come back into the fold. So, hence it is a very conducive, a very stimulating experience to be marketing today, and that is the role that marketers must play when it comes to engaging their audiences. Now, there are cultural influences on purchase behavior. Now, here what you see is individual values, the traditions they come from, and how societal norms are shaping up. These actually change and they affect the consumer purchase preferences. Individualistic thinking versus collectivistic cultures are also part of the decision making process. So, if somebody is buying something which is luxury, they will think not only amongst themselves as to how they look, but also look at how society will perceive them once they have made that particular purchase. So, case studies are, for example, in India, you've seen family influenced purchases on the rise, as well as aspirational buying, because at the end of the day, India has, in terms of its economy, moved from 75 years ago when they were not independent to now where they are the 5th largest economy in the world. Yes, purchasing power parity has yet to move up the index, but overall the ability to think and believe that they can buy into something which is bigger, better and more to their liking is something which drives aspirations amongst the people. In fact, the way wedding ceremonies are conducted in the country, earlier weddings were a simpler, tightly knit family affair, which was very traditional and conservative. Now it has become enough and more of a show, where it has been divided over days, and each particular instance has become, each particular segment of that particular wedding ceremony over the days has become a different kind of its own unique flavor. And people throng and people think and plan and actually execute and live to see what all they have achieved in all those different stages of planning a wedding. In the West, contrarily, you will see that personal choice holds center of attention. Brand loyalty is something which people tend to exhibit, and if not, then brands try and push them in that particular direction. And they have a lot of focus on ethical consumption, especially because in today's day and age, sustainability has become a big buzzword in the West. They have become industrialized, so hence they are now in the process of ensuring that whatever they do not harm the environment, and they are seeking the same from developing economies as well, which leads us to the carbon markets as well, because there the West helps the economies which are developing come up with better standards of emission and thereby preserving the carbon in the world and not losing it into the atmosphere. And that actually gains them carbon credits, because industrialization is near complete in their own home countries. By investing in developing nations, they are able to get those carbon credits, which are currency for the future. Now, there are environmental and social influences which are marked by such thought processes like carbon neutrality, which we've spoken of just now. There is a growing impact of sustainability and climate awareness, because we feel that if we do not do enough, the climate may worsen and we'll leave behind a world which is for the worse for our coming generations. And which is why there is a lot of green consumerism, and brands have started taking an ethical stance. They want to give back to society, they want to give back to communities, they want to give back to the nature at large. And there is a lot of peer pressure from people around you, and they want you to fall in line and actually look at these things. And there is societal expectations as well in buying decisions, so that you choose certain products or brands that are green and they are more attuned towards ecological benefits and keeping the world healthier, happier and greener. And therefore, what has come as a result of all of these is conscious capitalism, when you actually create more value for the world around you. So, there are lots of factors in this like circular economies, etc. Waste management. Circular economy and waste management are intertwined because what is somebody's waste can become the input product for somebody else. So, hence all these things come together. Carbon neutrality, so that you do not take too much from nature and put back in equal amount, so that nature actually thrives rather than gets debilitated because of your consumerist actions. So, there is a lot of stuff which is happening in the purchase decision making format, and the roles which are there. The journey is such that there are lots of factors which affect this, and in a very real time format. So, there is digital and social media which actually drive the key decision making process. So, here you have got social proof, for example. Here you have got reviews and ratings which you already delve into before buying into something that is new. So, you look at other people, their inputs, their comments, their facts about how their experience has been. Also, the fact that micro and macro influencers, so even the smallest and the largest influencers who are there, they shape the trends. They pick up something and they talk about it, they expand on that particular discussion and tell people what it is that draws them and makes them believe in a certain particular thought process. So, all of these things are taken into consideration. Also, going further, the role of AI has become very important, and that also allows for a vast amount of personalization. Lot of big digital players like Netflix, Amazon, they recommend content to people basis what they have watched, what they have liked, and their usage and consumption patterns. So, they will actually make a note of what your consumption habits have been, and now their engine kicks in and starts suggesting content which you would like to watch probably. So, all of these things become part of the entire consumer journey. Also, there are emotional and psychological triggers which we look at. These are classic cases, but they have become new age formats as well. Fear of missing out. So, you have got a very famous acronym which the youth of today feel and connect with, which is FOMO. And again, there are things like YOLO. So, fear of missing out and you only live once are factors which get people to take certain decisions when thinking of what to do and not to. And there are nostalgic elements where you feel like there was something which you liked and you want to relive that particular experience again. Again, factors like exclusivity, where you get the club class treatment. This is something which makes people buy something just for the sheer experience, and if there is a chance that it may go away and not come back to you ever, then that also prods people to buy. So, there is urgency in marketing. Brands like Zara have been able to do this to the extent that they have, because they put out fashion lines which they say are there only for a short time. Once gone, they are completely gone. So, hence people, in order to own that particular line of fashion, will want to purchase from Zara. So, there are cognitive biases here again, because there are people who have these biases from before and they walk into that purchase making decision process at that point in time. They want to avoid loss. So, that is one. Various people have exhibited it, that there is that fear, and that fear actually prompts you to take a certain decision to avoid loss, and you feel better if you have an anchoring effect. So, there is something which you consider as the basic premise or the fundamental in how your world or universe works, and so therefore, you use that for an anchor. And once you set that this is my assumption, this is what I think is true, this is what I hold dear, those anchoring items is things which you will always want to keep around you, and that gives you comfort. So, hence anchoring effect comes into play. Here brands which understand these insights, understand these aspects of what helps people anchor, or what gives them fear and hence prompts them to action, or what gives them desire and hence prompts them to action, is something which brands can carry as part of their storytelling. Also, speaking these things out loud helps them create that bridge, that emotional connection with their expected target audiences. So, all of these factors together, they play a very vital role in ensuring that consumers and marketers are able to build a bridge, connect and have that basic transaction. Now, the role of technology and AI in purchase journeys has become increasingly very strong, and brands and marketers are taking very strong note of this and ensuring that they are delivering on these things. How do you manage to do these things? First and foremost, you want people to feel that this is for them. Hence, hyper personalization is something which comes again from a lot of data being collected and the analytics of it being brought into play. Here, hyper personalization means the color, the shape, the form factor, the longevity, the kind of sustainable parts or produce it comes from. All of these things start aligning with the individual's tastes. It can be brought down to that extent where every individual can be targeted very specifically as per their tastes, their whims and fancies, as long as you can fine tune your production process to meet that particular kind of granularity. So, hence hyper personalization through data analytics is something which brings consumers into the fold and helps them believe that whatever they are getting is absolutely the most apt thing that they can get and it is made just for them. So, that is the nature of hyper personalization. Again, when you've got AI chatbots and virtual assistants, they help you make that decision also because they prompt you towards a certain direction. They push you towards the closure point, and at times when they can't handle the interaction directly, they then get a human agent involved in that particular conversation to close it. But prior to that, all the information that must be given, all the cajoling and the nurturing that needs to happen has already been taken care of because of preset standards which marketers have put into the entire system. Again, when people have that particular experience which they want to extend beyond just what they have seen in a poster or in a still or in a video, they want immersive experiences at times, and that's where the role of augmented reality comes in, as well as for virtual reality, and especially works well in the case of retail, because in retail you have the people in store, you've got them as captive audience, you engage them through augmented reality, you let them explore and discover, and through virtual reality you have a truly immersive experience. So, for example, if you are in a mall and you are being coaxed to buy a certain property, they will show you a walkthrough of the property and you can literally take control of how you walk through and experience the beauty of that particular property done through VR headsets. So, all of these things together, they form those aspects where people can experience these things firsthand, and that helps push them towards a more positive outcome in terms of the purchase decision. So, like in retail, you've got virtual try-ons. In the beauty and fashion segment, brands in India which have been able to do it are Shoppers Stop, Westside and Trends. They've put up kiosks inside stores where people are able to try it on. Online, a brand which has been able to do this is Lenskart, which has put in a frame selector for people to choose the piece of eyewear that fits their face, again done through an augmented reality offering, but online. Now, all of these things push people and they are shifting. The policies are shifting, the way marketers are using these are shifting, the way the audience is also expecting these things to happen and wisening up to those particular conversations is happening simultaneously. So, hence the future of consumer decision journeys is going to shift in a big way, and when that shift happens, you will see a lot of these things coming about. Predictive analytics will shape the future demand. So, basically all the factors that have currently been affecting demand, they have been tracked or are in the process of getting tracked, And when you have got sufficient amount of data across a vast swath of time and with a variety of people involved, you are able to see trends, and the entire thing gets fired from AI, which gives you projections or predictions. So, all these things together, they form that particular bridge for marketers to be able to reach their consumers better and get them to buy. Similarly, for security purposes, blockchain is available, which gives transparency in ethical consumption of goods, and it also ensures that there is a lot of security against digital attacks and data loss. So, blockchains typically help protect you from those things. Again, as people get into immersive experiences, the metaverse is coming up in a big way, where shopping and experiential retail trends can be explored. It is currently yet in the nascent stage, but as time passes by, it will become more and more the regular thing that is done. And the role of where we are in terms of Web3 and decentralized commerce from Web3 is where it gives brands a chance to fight it out, rather than having something which is focused and forced from the platform itself. And that is why the role of Web3 and decentralized commerce has actually helped a lot of smaller players also grow and thrive if they are able to bend it over the algorithmic approach that the platforms have. Now, all of these things have pushed towards a specific direction where consumers get reached out to over and across multiple formats, which is called omni-channel marketing. What is omni-channel, you might ask? So, the definition is there is seamless integration of multiple marketing channels, both online as well as offline. It is a consumer hand-holding process. You spot the consumer's journey, you identify the various points through which the consumer passes on a day in, day out basis, and then you ensure that you are able to put your brand and put your messaging and put your communication at various touch points in that particular journey, so that they are able to actually absorb what the brand is telling them and react in a certain way, which gives the benefit of value back to the brand, as well as gain a lot of value for the costs of goods sold to the consumer as well. So, these are aspects that bring it into play. It matters because consumers expect a unified and seamless experience across platforms. For example, 73% of consumers use multiple channels in their purchase journey. So, this is something which people want to think of nowadays. The omni-channel consumer journey pushes people in a certain flow and a direction, and that is why there is fluidity between channels. It can switch between the online and offline modes very easily, and hence there is online research which pushes for offline trial and online purchase as well. Because offline trials are important, because the physicality of that particular product may at times need a personalized intervention, a touch, feel and robust interaction with that particular product or brand, and then finally the online purchase, which closes that particular process. Again, on social media you will see there is a discovery process which we have found, and here the e-commerce bit at the checkout point to the in-store pickup bit, all of these things are part of what social media can help you understand. It gives you the ability to look at products and see what you can customize with them. It provides a shop format where you can put them in a cart, get them checked out, and then you can finally go and pick them up at the store, or the store can deliver it to your homestead as well. Examples of this are: customer sees a product on Instagram. For instance, they read their reviews on Google and buys it in store. So the option is in store, which is buy online, pick it up in store, very popularly known as BOPIS nowadays. This is a relevant trend, and because marketers need to figure this part out as to how they want to address that particular interaction, they will have to keep this in the core center of their market planning. Now, what are the key components of an effective omni-channel strategy? The experience, needless to be said, has to be seamless throughout, and consistent messaging and branding across various channels. In terms of personalization, here you will see that data-driven product recommendations will not really stop you from getting what is yours. And we have talked about getting your name engraved, getting your features and various things that you have wanted put out there, your colors, your choice of texture, etc. That is something which big data will actually push for, and that can come as recommendations. Once people choose, you get them to pay and pick those things up. In terms of technology, how does it integrate? AI chatbots, smart retail and dynamic pricing. All of these things are factors which enhance the consumer experience. For example, AI chatbots can speak with you at any given point of interaction, whether it be online or whether it even be offline. Smart retail, for example, the try it out screens that we've discussed a couple of slides before, are things that can actually help and record also how you have interacted with their particular capability and technologies, and dynamic pricing, so that prices can be managed according to how soon or how late you are in fact trying to buy something. Now, in terms of customer data utilization, you will see that tracking of the touch points is important so that better engagement can be had, because what happens typically is when customer data is not fully there, erroneous outputs can occur, and data's consistency is very, very important, which is why this is critical for business success. So, what is the role of mobile and social commerce? Because mobile as a space is what people are at most of the time today. The first point of interaction mostly today is on the mobile handset. So, hence your experience has to be skewed towards the mobile first shopping behavior, and from this you will see that there is a social commerce boom which has been led by Insta, and then TikTok, and finally WhatsApp as well. But each of these have their own capabilities and each of these have their own gaps also. So, both things have to be taken into consideration. For example, TikTok is banned in India. So, how do you go about? You figure out ways to do it on Instagram only. Instant checkout experiences also exist. For example, Amazon's buy now button allows them to skip past the cart and the creation of all the products that you want to buy and directly buy one particular product with immediacy first, and then again keep doing whatever they want with the cart. The case study here we've sort of spotted is how many brands leverage social media ads for instant purchases is something which we can look at. A variety of brands both in India and internationally are doing it. Whosoever has not yet joined the bandwagon, they are trying to get in there very, very quickly. So, now we come to the influence of omni-channel loyalty programs. Omni-channel loyalty programs typically offer benefits from loyalty at every and any interaction point and affects repeat purchases, because the more you entice a person by incentive, the more ready they are to come over and see what is happening. Examples of this are Starbucks. So, Starbucks has rewards integration in their in-app experience purchase and their in-store dining experience as well. So, what Amazon Prime has done meanwhile is it is driving cross-channel spending. So, they promote similar products. They also tell you people who bought this are likely to buy this because we've seen this trend in the past, and it prompts you towards a purchase making decision. Again, in terms of impact, you will see increased lifetime customer value, which we've discussed, LTV. This is what we've discussed at the outset. What are the other challenges that we see in omni-channel implementation. So, there are data silos, inconsistent consumer data, because people will be in a hurry, they may not have the necessary amount of education. So, a variety of things can affect the customer data capture across platforms. So, one thing is very cute, which is attribution modeling. It gives that particular aspect of what attributes make for the better implementation of omnichannel implementation. Here you will see that you understand which channel influenced the purchase. You draw the story back to the source. In terms of customer expectations, you demand personalized and real-time engagement, and hence they look at the various touch points which is linked to the attribution and find where the customer has found the brand, what they have expected from the brand, and you are able to predict what they will want next. Together, it helps manage costs, because a high investment in technology and integration today is something which is going to affect the ability to be in the market or not in the coming future. What the future trends we see in omnichannel marketing are, there will be enough and more AI powered predictive shopping. You will have a lot of recommending of products before consumers even search, because from their personal experiences and data points, this is something AI should be able to predict. Then voice commerce and smart assistants. You've already seen Alexa in a position to buy things for you. So, Alexa is there, same thing goes for Google Assistants, and you will see Siri also come up with the same, where they influence buying decisions. They may quickly buy something for you and ask you about it and go ahead and do it. So, they do not generally wait up for your response. Then there is metaverse shopping experiences. Here you will see there are virtual showrooms and immersive shopping experiences through which people can actually engage with that particular brand the more they want. And in terms of sustainability, which is a big factor, and ethical consumerism, which is what they want to put down. So, therefore, you will see eco-friendly products coming up and these recommendations reaching your interactive touch points. So, this constant changing face of influence is something which omnichannel actually exhibits and also tracks. It checks on the past versus present conundrum. Earlier, celebrities in mainstream media would endorse brands, and that is only why they would sell. And nowadays, there is a layered influencer ecosystem which includes micro and nano influencers, like we've talked of before. And this is important because it generates trust and relatability over star power. And the second part is, you can create community driven decision making, because you've got a lot of people who can be banked upon by the prospective buyer. Now, in terms of the influencer spectrum, who influences people in terms of the consumers today? You have mega influencers who have 1 million plus followers. These are celebrities and global personalities. Then you have macro influencers who have about 100K plus to about 1 million, and these people could be well known industry experts or lifestyle bloggers. Then you've got micro influence, about 10K to 100K followers, and then you've got niche specific experts and relatable figures who come in as part of that particular audience. And then the tiniest of these, which are the nano influencers, who have 1,000 to 10,000 influencers on their channel. Everyday consumers and people expect this and experience this high local impact through various touch points on the omnichannel universe. There are higher engagement rates because of this. More interaction and trusted voices are listened to. There is an authenticity and relatability factor. This is typically in the way that communication goes out, and consumers trust people who feel or come across like them over celebrities who they think are in a different trajectory altogether. And community driven influence actually has an impact because people feel that there is direct peer to peer influence. So, they will prefer certain brands because of that. And then obviously, there is the community and there is the cost effective part for brands, which is higher ROI in comparison to celebrity endorsements. So, platform specific influencer impact would be various places where you see Instagram. Internationally, you've also got TikTok, which is very similar to Instagram, where there is a lot of visual storytelling and the short form video impact. You also have YouTube doing this in YouTube Shorts format, where it is popular. You've got long form, otherwise deep engagement content and product reviews on YouTube primarily. You've got Twitter and LinkedIn, which is more discussion spaces, and you can discuss your thought leadership ideas. You can exert business influence, and then there are Reddit and Discord spaces where niche communities can connect and have an organic discussion in process. Then the interactivity bit comes in, where you've got WhatsApp and Telegram. This allows for to and fro communication to go through. This is a closed network influencing, where you invite people on board your particular channel and then you have interactions with them or from them, but it is within that particular closed unit. So, at the awareness stage, celebrity and macro influencers drive trends. At the consideration stage, you will see micro influencers provide in-depth reviews and recommendations. At the decision stage, you will see nano influencers and peer recommendations, which are going to tip the scale. And post the actual purchase happening, you will see user generated content, and this reinforces the brand loyalty. So, these are the various facets that we see influencing purchase decision journeys. And whilst all these things have to be thought of, there are certain challenges and ethics of the influencer marketing system. So, here you will see a lot, like we spoke of, fake followers and engagement fraud. People put in bots, people put in fake followers, and because of that brands struggle with authenticity. Then there is regulatory scrutiny. There are mandatory ad disclosures. For example, you have to put a hashtag ad or a hashtag sponsored before you can actually release it. Then you've got consumer skepticism, because consumers aren't duped anymore. So, they will look at the over commercialization and you will see the credibility dropping very, very quickly. And also the blind spot effect, which is the saturation, and people need fresh creative content strategies rather than seeing the same regurgitated stuff over and over again. And so, therefore, what will help craft all these things is AI and virtual influencers. Here you will see CGI influencers like Lil Miquela redefining engagement, and you will actually see them perform in a space which is virtually created. So, that is typically something which then gets put out in front of people and they think that this is actually happening. Similarly, there is decentralized influence, which comes from blockchain based and authenticity tracking. Then there is live shopping with influencers. Live shopping influencers could be real time commerce growth, and because real time commerce growth is live shopping and both of these things are integrated and intermeshed, they work hand in hand. There are hyperlocal and community first influences also, where more focus on everyday creators is constantly being put out. Now, when you look at the new influencer landscape, there are certain key takeaways that you must think of. Influence is shifting from celebrities to everyday people because it makes it relatable and believable. There is a certain amount of authenticity, a niche expertise from those influencers who exert their right to authority, and the community engagement that they also have, it starts to matter. Brands therefore must tailor their influencer strategies across different audience touchpoints. There should be actionable steps also for business. So, here people should be promoting micro and nano influencers, focus on the authenticity of the brand and the kind of storytelling they are able to do, and adapt influencer partnerships to fit platform specific behaviors. What this means is, when you get an influencer on board on a particular platform, there are certain expected behaviors which help push a brand in a certain decisive way. The influencer becomes the main pivot on which the entire activity then unfolds. So, all of these things taken into consideration, we have a lot of cultural influence, and today's changing trends and patterns and the way things are done influence the lifespan of campaigns, the lifespan of who will be able to drive the brand story and narrative going forward. And these are things that marketers must definitely take a look at very, very sharply and keenly. So, today the modern consumer's purchase journey is definitely more dynamic, lot of factors. We moved from that simplistic one size fits all kind of approach which was there in the yesteryears to a more meshed, intermingled kind of format, and content and curiosity generators are coming from every possible direction, and hence it is making it unpredictable even more than ever before. The shift also is there from a linear decision making model like we spoke of to a complex multi-channel process which requires brands to be adaptable, because whatever new trends are coming in, and platforms, in order to keep themselves relatable and relevant also, they keep introducing new capabilities, new features, etc., which brands must milk so that they are able to create something that is truly reflexive of what society is also doing at the same point in time. So, again you will have to see that this has to be data driven and consumer first in its approach. The interplay between all these factors of omni-channel marketing, cultural and environmental consciousness, and the evolving influencer landscape has redefined how brands connect with their audiences. And because of these things, you will see an always on, always available kind of marketing approach across a variety of touch points, and with the use of not just brand assets, but influencers and outside players who come and add their voice to that campaign. As the technology advances, you will see there is AI driven personalization, predictive analytics, and immersive experiences like augmented reality and virtual reality, and you will further see influenced consumer choices because of all these activities. Now, with all these things in mind, the rise of micro and nano influencers highlights the growing preference for authenticity and community driven trust over traditional celebrity endorsements. The main reason for this, like we have discussed already in the module today, is that the celebrity is supposedly not empathic enough, because empathy is core to belief. So, once they exhibit that they truly understand the consumer's plight, that is when the consumer also agrees that these people are going to be seriously believing in the products that they push out there, and those products are actually going to make a significant change to the lives of the end consumer. That belief is something which keeps the brand loyalty going further. Now, in order to stay relevant, the businesses that we speak of must embrace a holistic approach. That means they have to seamlessly integrate digital and offline experiences, because it is not a trade-off, it is a continuous balancing act. You can't choose one and not use the other. You have to keep balancing the act continuously. Similarly, when you leverage genuine influencers and align with evolving consumer values, what you need to do is you need to ensure that the influencers you bring on board, they don't come across as salesy or fake. They come across as people who are masters of their niche, knowledgeable and pleasant in their demeanor. So that once they bring all of that onto the platform, their values connect with the values that the consumer is exhibiting. The future of marketing therefore lies in understanding these shifting paradigms and creating more meaningful, personalized engagement formats that resonate at every stage of the consumer journey. All of these things bring into play how everything is shifting, and it is shifting at a very, very rapid clip. So, hence, as we spoke of in various other conversations, it is a VUCA world which prompts you to keep always on your toes, always thinking, always planning, always having options ready, so that whatever new trends or whatever new habit shifts that you see, you are able to address those things by very, very judicious marketing exercises. So, we will expand on this going further and talk about the culture and influence in customers' decision making in our next conversation as well. So, until that time, I hope you are constantly thinking culture, constantly thinking human consumer journeys, and I will see you next time when we discuss this and take it further. Until then, that's me signing off.
Hi, my name is Gillette Sam and I teach sociology at IIT Kanpur. Today I am going to tell you about an important debate that is occurring around the concept of globalization. Now, uh, within the study of globalization, there are two sets of people. The first set of people argue that globalization is very real. It's something that is happening around us all the time, and in fact, it's something that is gaining strength over time. The second set of people, and the first set of people are called the globalists. The second set of people are not so convinced that globalization is something real, and they are referred to as skeptics. Now, the skeptics argue that unlike what the globalists would have us believe, that there are things and ideas and people that are traveling across the world, across multiple borders, and that we live in an interconnected world, actually, there are many parts of the world and many types of people who are completely left out of these kind of global flows. So they would give you the example of typically indigenous communities who live across the world. And they would argue that if you look at the lives of indigenous communities, particularly tribes that are quite isolated in terms of their physical location, their lives continue without their participating in any kind of global flows. To this, the globalists would respond that even though people may live in isolated and remote locations and they may not be directly involved in global flows, their lives today are still being influenced by events that are happening at a global scale. You can take the example of climate change. So, for instance, if there is an indigenous community that has no contact with anyone else in the world apart from themselves, but they live in an area which is experiencing an increase in sea levels, an increase in the temperature. All of this may be attributed to people in neighboring countries, or actually rather events that are happening across the globe. So, in that sense, even though you may not be directly participating in global flows, your everyday life is affected by what is happening around the world. Another argument that the skeptics make is in regard to what happens with the nation states. Now, initially, when discussions about globalization started, and we are talking about the 1990s, the expectation was that the nation state as an entity is going to wither away. It's going to cease to be important. Now, skeptics could point out to the world today and say, well, nation states are still important. We still live our lives based on which nation we were born in or which nation we have citizenship in. Their rules and regulations are still important for us. To which globalists would argue that this expectation that the nation state will cease to be important, that itself is a fallacy. Rather than facing a situation that the nation state becomes less important over time, we actually may be headed towards a situation where, in addition to the nation state, there are other laws which become important to our lives and they shape our lives on an everyday basis.